Input-output organization. Input-output organization. The input-output organization of computer depends upon the size of computer and peripherals connected to it. The input-output subsystem of the computer provides an efficient mode of communication between the central system and the outside environment. The most common input-output devices are, sir, muna siya yung mga common input or output devices. Muna siyang monitor, keyboard, mouse, printer. These are the devices that are under the direct control of the computer are said to be connected online. Bus structure. The bus shown in Figure 7.1 is a simple structure that implements the interconnection networking Figure 3.1. Only one search destination pair of units can use set this bus to transfer data at any one time. The bus consists, muna siya sir, ang paan niya, ang structure. So, input-output organization. The input-output organization of computer depends upon the size of computer and the peripherals connected to it. The I/O subsystem of the computer provides an efficient mode of communication between the central system and the outside environment. The most common input-output devices are, sir, man siyang mga common device, common input-output devices, man siyang monitor, keyboard, mouse, printer. These are the devices that are under the direct control of the computer are said to be connected online. The bus structure. The bus structure in Figure 7.1 is a simple structure that implements the interconnection networking. Only one source or destination pair of units can set this bus transfer data at any one time. The consists of three sets of lines used to carry address data and control signals. So, muna siya, sir, ang structure sa bus. Input, output, or I/O device interfaces are connected to this line, as shown in Figure 7.2 for an input devices. Each input-output device is assigned a unique set of addresses for the registers in its interface. When the processor places a particular address in the address lines, it is examined by the address. So, muna siya, sir, ang bus operation. Then, the device that recognizes this address responds to the commands issued on the control lines. The process uses the control lines to request either a read or a write operation, and the requested data are transferred over the data lines. The process of uses the control lines to request either a read or a write operation, and the requested data are transferred over the data lines. When I/O devices and the memory share the same address space, the arrangement is called memory map I/O or input-output. Any machine instruction that can access memory can be used to transfer data to or from an input-output device. So, bus operation. A bus requires a set of rules, often called a bus protocol, that govern how the bus is used by various devices. The bus protocol determines when a device may place information in the bus, when it may load the data on the bus into one of its registers, and so on. These rules are implemented by control signals that indicate what and when actions are to be taken. So, The bus control lines also carry timing information. They specify times in which the processor and the input or output devices may place data on or receive data from data lines. A variety of schemes have been devised from the timing of data transfer over a bus. This can be broadly classified either synchronous or asynchronous schemes. In any data transfer operation, one device plays the role of a master. This is a device that it initiates data transfer by using read or write commands on the bus. Normally, the processor acts as a master, but other devices may also become masters, as we will see in section 7.3. The device or addresses by the master is referred to as slave. So, synchronized bus. A bus used to interconnect devices that comprise a computer system where the timing of transaction between devices is under the control of a synchronizing clock signal. A device connected to a synchronous bus must guarantee to respond to a command within a period set by the frequency of the clock signal, or a transmission error will occur. Such buses are usually employed in closely controlled processor backplane environments where device characteristics and inter-device signal delays are known. So, muna siya i-consider ang structure kung saan pag timing of an input transfer on a synchronous bus. So, asynchronous bus. An alternative scheme for controlling data transfers on a bus is based on the use of a handshake protocol between the master and the slave. A handshake is an exchange of command and response signals between the master and the slave. It is a generalization of the way the slave ready signal is used in figure 7.5. A control line called master ready is asserted by the master to indicate that it is ready to start a data transfer. The slave responds by asserting slave ready. A data transfer controlled by handshake protocol proceeds as follows. The master places the address and command information on the bus. Then it indicates to all devices that it has done so by activating the master ready line. This causes all devices to decode the address. The selected slave performs the required operation and informs the processor that it has done so by activating case of a read operation. It also loads the data into one of its registers. An example of the timing of an input data transfer using the handshake protocol is given in figure 7.6, which depicts the following sequence of events. So, muna siya sir, ang timing 0, muna siya sir, tapos the master places the address and command information in the bus, and all devices on the bus decode this information. So, muna siya sir, ang iyahang timing 1. The master sets the master's ready line to 1 to inform the device that the address and command information is ready. The delay is intended to allow for any skew that may occur on the bus. Skew occurs when two signals transmitted simultaneously from one source arrive at the destination at different times. This happens because different lines of the bus may have different propagation speeds, thus to guarantee.
So, a synchronous bus, an alternative scheme for controlling data transfer on a bus, is based on the use of a handshake protocol between the master and the slave. A handshake is an exchange of command and response signals between the master and the slave. It is a generalization of the way the slave-ready signal is used in figure 7.5. A control line called master ready is asserted by the master to indicate that it is ready to start a data transfer. So the slave responds by asserting slave ready, a data transfer control bus. Then it indicates to all devices that it has done so by activating the master ready line. This causes all devices to decode the slave ready line. The master waits for slave ready to become asserted before it removes its signals from the bus. In case of a read operation, it also loads the data into one of its registers. An example of the timing of an input data transfer using the handshake protocol is given in figure 7.6. which depict the following sequence of events. Timing 0, the master places the address and command information on the bus, and all devices on the bus decode this information. And timing 1, the master sets the master ready line to 1 to inform the devices that the address and command information is ready. The delay timing 1 to timing 0 is intended to allow for any skew that may occur on the bus. Skew occurs when two signals transmitted simultaneously from one source arrive at the destination at different times. This happens because different lines of the bus may have different propagation speeds, thus to generate. Next is the electrical considerations. A bus is an interconnection medium to which several devices may be connected. It is essential to ensure that only one device can place data on the bus at any given time. A logic gate that places data on the bus is called a bus driver. All devices connected to the bus except the one that is currently sending data must have their bus drivers turned off. A special type of logic gate known as tri-state gate issued for this purpose. A tri-state gate has a control input that is used to turn the gate on or off. When turned on or enabled, it drives the bus with 1 or 0 corresponding to the value of its input signal. When turned off or disabled, it is effectively disconnected from the bus. From an electrical point of view, its output goes into high impedance state that does not affect the signal on the bus. Arbitration. There are occasions when two or more entities contend for the use of a signal resource in a computer system. For example, two devices may need to access a given slave at the same time. In such cases, it is necessary to decide which device will access the slave first. The decision is usually made in an arbitration process performed by an arbiter circuit. The arbitration process starts by each device sending a request to use the shared resource. The arbiter associates priorities with individual requests. It is received two requests at the same time. It grants the use of the slave to the device having the higher priority first. And it is possible that several devices in a computer system need to be bus masters to transfer data. A device that wishes to use the bus sends a request to the arbiter. When multiple requests arrive at the same time, the arbiter selects one request and grants the bus to the corresponding device. For some devices, a delay in gaining access to the bus may lead to an error. Such devices must be given high priority. If there is no particular urgency among requests, the arbiter may grant the bus using a simple round-robin scheme. A device that wishes to use the bus sends a request to the arbiter. When multiple requests arrive at the same time, the arbiter selects one request and grants the bus to the corresponding device. For some devices, a delay in gaining access to the bus may lead to an error, so such devices may be given high priority. If there is a particular urgency among requests, the arbiter may grant the bus using a simple round-robin scheme, which is shown in Figure 7.8, illustrates an arrangement for the bus arbitration involving two masters. So there are two bus request lines, BR1 and BR2, and two bus grant lines, BG1 and BG2 connecting. So mo na siya, if daghan ang mo request, ang bus, maoy mo, ang arbiter, maoy mag-select o unsa nga request ang iyang i-grant. So, mao na siya mo handle ana. Mao na siya ang atong figure 7.1 nag-explain sa flow sa bus ug sa arbiter. So, manang master, ang arbiter circuit, master 2. So, if ang master 1 mo request sa arbiter 2 and then master 2 mo request ang master 2 mo request sa arbiter circuit, depende na siya sa arbiter circuit ug asang iyang unahon na request. So, interface circuits. The input-output interface of a device consists of the circuitry needed to connect the device to the bus. On one side of the interface are the bus lines for address, data, and control. On the other side are the connections needed to transfer data between the interface and the input and I/O output. November 10, 2010, for example na siya, So this side, so mo na siya katong kani siya nga 1145 ham underscore 338065 underscore ch07 sheet number 13 page number 239 cyan block 7.4 interface circuits 239 device. This side is called a port, and it can be either a parallel or a linear port. A parallel port transfers multiple bits of data simultaneously to or from the device. A serial port sends and receives data bit at one time. Communication with the processors is the same for both formats. The conversion from a parallel to a serial format and vice versa takes place inside the interface circuit. According to the discussion in section 3.1, the input-output interface does the following: provide a register for temporary storage of data, includes a status register containing status information that can be accessed by the processor. 3. Includes a control register that holds the information governing the behavior of the interface. Number 4, contains addressing decoding circuitry to determine what is being addressed by the processor. Generates the required timing signals. Number 6, perform any format conversion and may be necessary to transfer data between the processor and the input-output device, such as parallel to serial conversion in the case of a serial port. So kaning mga port mo na siya ang nag-connect between sa input and output devices. So for example, kaning mga katong mga information nga gi-send sa kuan, po ni siya ang use sa kanang mga serial ports. Either kanay to transfer information, contain address decoding circuitry, kanay ako gi-mention earlier. So, mo ni siya ang parallel interface. Input interface, there are only two registers, a data register and a status register. The latter contains the keyboard status flag or KIN. Mao ni siya kaning first nga kuan nga keyboard switches kay mo ni katong keyboard dato, and then the next one if mo encode ta ato siya sa encoder circuit, and then after ana mo ato na siya sa input interfaces, and then the next after ana mahimo na siyang bato na siya sa processor, where ang processor mo na siya mag-process sa information, and then after ana ang balik na pod ang information adto sa address sa katong input interface niya, mo na siya nga mo kuan na siya mahimo na siyang ready para sa user, magamit na siya sa user. So a typical keyboard consists of mechanical switches that are normally open. When a key is pressed, its switch closes and establishes a path for an electrical signal. This signal is detected by the encoder circuit that generates the ASCII code or ASCII code for the corresponding character. The output of the encoder in figure 7.10 consists of a 1 byte of data representing the encoded character and one control signal called valid. When a key is pressed, the valid signal changes from 0 to 1, causing the ASCII code of the corresponding character to be loaded into the KBD data register and the status flag KIN to be set to 1. The status flag is clear to 0 when the processor reads the contents of the KBD or data register. The interface circuit is shown connected to an asynchronous bus in which transfer are controlled by the handshake signals master ready and slave ready on figure 7.6. The bus has one other control which indicates as a read option with equals to 1. Okay na?
A serial interface is used to connect the processor to input-output devices that transmit data one bit at a time. Data are transferred in a bit serial fashion on the device side and in a bit parallel fashion on the processor side. The transformation between the parallel and serial format is achieved with shift registers that have parallel access capability. A block diagram of a typical serial interface is shown in figure 7.15. The input shift register accepts bit serial input from the I/O device. When all 8 bits of data have been received, the contents of this shift register are loaded in parallel into the data in register. Similarly, output data in the data out register are transferred to the output shift register. from which the bits are shifted out and sent to the I/O device. If 8 bits of data is received, the content of the shift register is loaded in parallel into the data in register. If the output data in the data out register are transferred to the output shift register, from which the bits are shifted out and sent to the input output device. The part of the interface that deals with the bus is the same as in the parallel interface described earlier. Two status flags, which we will refer to as SIN and SOUT, are maintained by the status and control block. There is two status flags, which is referred to as SIN and SOUT. The SIN flag is set to 1 when new data are loaded into data in from the shift register, and cleared to 0 when these data are read by the processor. If the SIN flag is set to 1 and the new data are loaded into data in from the shift register and cleared to 0 when these data are read by the processor. The SOUT flag indicates whether the data out register is available. It is cleared to 0 when the processor writes new data into data out. It is cleared to 0 when it writes new data into data out, and set to 1 when data are transferred from the data out. If it is transferred from data out, it will set to 1 to the output shift register. It is possible to implement data in and data out themselves as shift registers, thus obviating the need for separate shift registers. However, this would impose awkward restrictions on the operation of the input-output device. After receiving one character from the serial line, the interface would not be able to start receiving the next character until the processor reads the contents of data in. Thus, a pause would be needed between two characters to give the processor time to read the input data. With double buffering, the transfer of the second character can begin as soon as the first character is loaded from the shift register into the data in register. Thus, provided the processor reads the contents of data in before the serial transfer of the second character is completed, the interface can receive a continuous stream of input data over the serial line. An analogous situation occurs in the output path of the interface. This is the interface circuit. Serial input to the input shift register to data in, and it will transfer to data out, then output shift register. There are two basic approaches: asynchronous transmission and synchronous transmission.
Synchronous transmission. In a synchronous transmission, the receiver generates a clock that is synchronized to that of the transmitter by observing successive 1 to 0 and 0 to 1 transition in the received signal. It adjusts the positions of the active edge of the clock to be in a center of bit position. A variety of encoding schemes are used to ensure that enough a signal transmission occur to enable to receive and generate a synchronized clock to maintain synchronization. Once synchronization is achieved, data transmission can continue indefinitely. Encoded data are usually transmitted in the large block consisting of several hundreds or several thousand of bits. The beginning and the end of each block are marked by appropriate codes and data within.
November 10, 2010, 11:46, ham 338065, CH07, sheet number 21, page number 247, Shan Block 7.5. Interconnection standards 247 block are organized according to an agreed upon set of rules. Synchronous transmissions enable very high data transfer rates. Interconnection standards. A typical desktop or notebook computer has several ports that can be used to connect devices such as a mouse, a memory key, or a disk drive. Standard interfaces have been developed to enable device to use interfaces that are independent of any particular processor. For example, a memory key that is a USB connector can be used with a computer that has USB port. In this section, we describe briefly some of the widely used interconnection standards. Most standards are developed by a collaborative effort among a number of companies. In many cases, the IEE, Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineer, develops these standards further and publishes them as the IEEE standards. Universal Serial Bus or USB. A large variety of devices are available with USB connector including mice, memory keys, disk drivers, printers, cameras, and many more. The commercial success of the USB is due to simplicity and low cost. The original USB specification supports two speed of operation called low speed, 1.5 megabytes, and full speed 12 megabytes. Later, USB 2 called high speed USB was introduced. It enabled data transfers at speeds up to 480 megabytes as I0. Device continued to evolve with even higher spread requirements. USB 3, called Super Speed, was developed. It supports data transfer rates up to 5 gigabytes. The USB has been designed to meet several key objectives, provide a simple, low cost, and easy-to-use interconnection system, accommodate a wide range of device and a bit rates including internet connection and audio and video application, enhance user convenience through a plug-and-play mode of operation. Device characteristics. This kind of device that may be connected to a computer cover a wide range of functionality. The speed, volume, and timing associated with data transfer to and from this device varies significantly. In the case of keyboard, 1 byte of the data is generated every time a key is pressed, which may happen at any time. This data should be transferred to a computer promptly. The plug and play. When an I/O device is connected to a computer, the operating system needs some information about it. It needs to know what type of device is that it can use the appropriate device driver. It also needs to know the address of the registers in device interface to be able to communicate with it. The USB standard defines both the USB hardware and the software that communicates with it. Its plug-and-play features means that when a new device is connected, the system detects its existence automatically. The software determines the kind of device and how to communicate with it, as well as any special requirements it may have. As a result, the user simply plugs in a USB device and begins to use it without having to get involved with any of these details. The USB is also hot pluggable, which means a device can be plugged into or removed from USB port while power is turned on. USB architecture. The USB uses point-to-point connection in a serial transmission format. Each mode of 3 has a device called a hub, which acts as an intermediate transfer point between the host computer and the I/O device, and the root of the 3 where it hub connects the entire 3 of the host computer. The leaves of 3 are the I/O device, a mouse, a keyboard, printer, an internet connection, a camera or a speaker. The tree structure makes it possible to connect any device using simple point-to-point serial links. Isochronous traffic on USB. An important feature of the USB is its ability to support the transfer as isochronous data in a simple manner. As I mentioned earlier, isochronous data need to be transferred precisely time regular intervals. To accommodate this type of traffic, the root hub transmits a uniquely recognized sequence of bits over the USB tree. Every millisecond, this sequence of bits called start of frame character as the market indicating the beginning of isochronous data, which are transmitted after this character. Those digitized audio and video signals can be transferred in a regular and precisely timed manner. FireWire. FireWire is another popular interconnection standard. It was originally developed by Apple and has been adopted as a IEEE standard 1394. Like the USB, it is differential point-to-point serial links. Devices are organized in daisy chain manner on a FireWire bus instead of a tree structure of USB. One device is connected to the computer, a second device is connected to the first one, and a third device is connected to the second one, and so on. FireWire is well suited for connecting audio and video equipment. It can be operated in isochronous mode that is highly optimized and carrying high-speed asynchronous traffic. The I/O device connected to the USB communicate with the host of computer. If data are to be transferred from one device to another, for example, from a camera to a display or a printer, they are first read by the host, then sent to display or printer. FireWire, on the other hand, support a mode of operation called peer-to-peer. This means that the data may be transferred directly from one I/O device to another, without the host involvement. The basic FireWire connector has 6 pins. There are 2 pairs of data bars, one for transmission in each direction, 2 for power and ground. Higher speed versions use in a 9-pin connector with a 3 ground wire added to shield the data wires against interference. The FireWire bus can deliver considerably more power than the USB. Hence, it can support devices with moderate power requirements.
The PCI Peripheral Component Interconnect Bus was developed as a low-cost processor-independent bus. It is housed on the motherboard of a computer and used to connect I/O interfaces for a wide variety of devices. The device connected to the PCI bus refers to the processor as if it is connected directly to the processor bus. Its interface registers are assigned addresses in the address space of the processor. The PCI bus is connected to the processor bus by a controller called a bridge. The bridge has a special port for connecting the computer's main memory. It may also have another special high-speed port for connecting graphics devices. The bridge translates and relays commands and responses from one bus to other and transfer data between them. Ano siya data transfer. The bus master, which is the device that initiates data transfer by issuing read and write commands, is called the initiator in PCI terminology. The address device that responds to these commands is called a target. There are 32 or 64 lines that carry address and data using a synchronous signaling scheme similar to a target ready signal is equivalent to the slave ready signal in that figure. In addition, PCI uses an initiator ready signal to support burst transfers. We will describe these signals briefly to provide a render without localization of the main features of the bus. A complete transfer operation of the PCI bus involving an address and a bars of data is called a transaction. Consider a bus transaction in which an initiator reads 4 consecutive 32-bit words from the memory. SCSI bus. It refers to a standard bus defined by the American National Standard Institute. The SCSI bus may be used to connect a variety of devices to a computer. It is particularly well suited for use with disk drives. It is often found in installations such as institutional database or MS systems where many disk drives are used. The original specification of the SCSI standard devices are connected to a computer via 50-wire cable which can be up to 25 meters in length and can transfer data at rates up to 5 megabytes. The standard has undergone many revisions and its data transfer capability has increased rapidly. SCSI-2 and SCSI-3 have been defined and each has several options. Data are transferred either 8 bits or 16 bits in parallel using clock speeds of up to 80 MHz. There are also several options for electrical signaling scheme used. The bus may use single-ended transmission where each signal uses one wire with a common ground return for signals. In another option, differential signaling is used with a pair of wires for each signal.
SCSI bus. It refers to a standard bus defined by the American National Standards Institute. The SCSI bus may be used to connect a variety of devices to a computer. It is particularly well suited for use with disk drives. It is often found in installations such as institutional databases or MS systems where many disk drives are used. In the original specifications of the SCSI standard, devices are connected to a computer via 50-wire cable, which can be up to 25 meters in length and can transfer data at rates of up to 5 megabytes. The standard has undergone many revisions and its data transfer capability has increased rapidly. SCSI-2 and SCSI-3 have been defined and each has several options. Data are transferred either 8 bits or 16 bits in parallel using clock speeds of up to 80 Hz. There are also several options for the electrical signaling scheme used. The bus may be used single-ended transmissions where each signal uses one wire with a common ground return for all signals. In other option, differential signaling is used with a pair of wires for each signal. To illustrate the operation of the SCSI bus, let us consider how it may be used with a disk drive. Communication with a disk drive differs substantially from communication with the main memory. Data are stored in a disk in blocks called sectors, where each sector may contain several hundred bytes. When a data file is written on a disk, it is not always stored in contiguous sectors. Some sectors may already contain previously stored information. Others may be defective and must be skipped. Hence, a read or write request may result in accessing several disk sectors that are not necessarily contiguous. Because of the constraints of the mechanical motion of the disk, there is a long delay on the order of several milliseconds before reaching the first sector to or from which data are to be transferred. Then, a burst of data are transferred at high speed. Another delay may ensue to reach the next sector, followed by a burst of data. A single read or write request may involve several such bursts. The ECSI protocol is designed to facilitate this mode of operation. The processor sends a command to the ECSI controller which causes the following sequence of events to take place. One is the ECSI controller contains for control of the ECSI bus. 2. It wins the arbitration process. The SI controller sends a command to the desk controller specifying the required read operation. The desk controller cannot start to transfer data immediately. It must first move the read head of the desk to the required sector. Hence, it sends a message to the SASI controller indicating that it will be temporarily suspend the connection between them. The SCSI bus is now free to be used by other devices. Number 4. The desk controller sends a command to the desk device to move the read head to the first sector involved in the requested read operation. It reads the data stored in that sector and stores them in a data buffer. When it is ready to begin transferring data, it requests control of the bus. After it wins arbitration, it re-establishes the connection with the SASI controller, sends the contents of the data buffer, then suspends the connection again. Number 5 is the process is repeated to read and transfer the contents of the second disk sector. The SASI controller transfers the requested data to the main memory and sends in the interrupt to the processor indicating the data are now available. CETA. In the early days of the personal computer, the bus of the popular IBM computer called ET, which was based on Intel's 8080 microprocessor bus, became an industry standard. It was named ISA for Industry Standard Architecture. An enhanced version including a basic software needed to support these drives was later named ETA for ET Attachment Bus. A serial version of the same architecture became known as CETA 5, which is now widely used as interface for disk. Like all standards, several versions of the CETA have been developed with added features and higher speeds. The original version has been renamed PETA but is not longer used in a new equipment. The basic CETA connector has been 7 pins connecting 2 twisted pairs and 3 ground wires. Differential transmission is used with clock frequencies ranging from 1.5 to 60 gigabits. SAS. This is serial implementation of the SCSI bus, hence its name serially attached SCSI 6. It is primarily intended for connecting magnetic disk and CD and DVD drives. It uses serial point-to-point links that are similar to SATA. SAS link can transfer data in both directions simultaneously at speed up to 12 gigabytes at the software level. SAS is fully compatible with SCSI.